What's up and welcome back. I'm doing another 40 for 40 because I'm turning 40 this month and I'm going through my midlife crisis openly on my YouTube channel. So this is one of my favorite films and I'm kind of surprised, but I did want to talk about it. And this is Edge of Tomorrow. This is, I think, probably the newest film on my list, although it's almost 10 years old. I think it's approaching. It's getting there. It's getting up in age. They keep talking about making a sequel, and I don't think it's ever gonna happen. I don't know, but Tom Cruise made a sequel to Top Gun like 30 years later, so who knows? maybe maybe he'll be like 75 and there'll be an Edge of Tomorrow too. I have no idea. So, and he'll still be running around and shooting everything, and yeah, totally feel it. But this has audio description on HBO Max, and it's all right. It's not my favorite audio description in the world, but it was okay. So we'll talk about it. But yes, I do. I really enjoy Edge of Tomorrow, even though it has a shitty name. That's the big thing here. Is this movie made like okay money at the box office, even though Tom Cruise is supposed to be like the biggest box office star alive, like the most bankable box office star, and this thing like barely crossed 100 million, even though everybody like it has like a 71 on Metacritic. That's pretty hard to attain. Above a 70 is pretty good on Metacritic, especially for a film in a non-critic friendly genre. It's Doug Liman, who has not always, he's not a home run guy. This guy, he's got a couple hits in there, and then he's got a couple of like, let's see how you feel about it. He's not the worst director by any means, but I'm gonna say the Jason Bourne franchise got better when it was given to Paul Greengrass. But obviously, The Bourne Identity is not a bad film. It's really hard to look at what Paul Greengrass brought to Supremacy and Ultimatum and say those aren't better movies. So, and there's definitely a little bit of a different tone. He broke on the scene with Swingers, so debatably that may be your favorite film, depending on how 90s you were, where you saw your life in the 90s. But that's Doug Liman's character, life directing style, and he made this. So I also noticed that Tom Cruise had Christopher McQuarrie in as a writer. I love Christopher McQuarrie. I think he's an underrated director too. Like, I really enjoy Way of the Gun, even though I think everybody forgot about that film. I think it has a lot of promise from a director at the beginning of their career that a lot of people just kind of swept under the rug. So he mostly just handles and works with Tom on a lot of these other projects. And Tom's smart to keep somebody like that around, somebody talented who's willing to just come in and punch up a script and make it better. And I think that's exactly what Christopher McQuarrie did here, is he just took something and made it better, especially made it more Tom Cruise-y. So I think the two have similar visions for what can be a successful hit. And this is it. Although it has a shitty title. I own this on DVD, but do I? I think I own something called Live, Die, Repeat on DVD. Don't change the title. That was so stupid. Nobody needed that. I know they were trying to do something because they were like, oh, we released this with Edge of Tomorrow. Yeah, that's what happens when you release a movie with a shitty title that means nothing. It has no relevance to the movie. But then Live, Die, Repeat actually kind of gives away the movie. So I don't know why we changed the title away from the original, the piece on which this is based, which is All You Need Is Kill. It's vague enough that you don't immediately, it doesn't tell you the whole movie, in the title. Live, Die, Repeat just is like, okay, it is what the film is. Cool. And it's original enough that you feel like, that you'll know whether or not you've seen that before. Sort of like when I was making all the jokes about Missing. I was like, oh, there's a film called Missing in theaters. Oh, that's a great title for a film. That won't be confusing at all when people have conversations about, oh, I saw Missing today. Which one? Like, which one? What did you watch? Um, so yeah, Edge of Tomorrow was just kind of a bullshit title to give this film. But it's an excellent film. Rest in peace, Bill Paxton. He's entertaining in this. He kind of has like one of these weird roles where he just kind of has to keep repeating himself over and over, but it's really entertaining. He does a great job with it, and we've also got Brendan Gleeson in the supporting role. But this is mostly Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt being badass and fighting an alien race that we're not really told a whole lot about. We're just film kind of just opens up on him, on Tom Cruise, and he's pitching is like some sort of marketing manager for war. And Brendan Gleeson is like, you seem like a guy I'm going to send to the front lines. So he just sends him to the front lines. There's no real explanation for any of this, but if you just accept it and roll with it, it's fun. And so we accept that Brendan Gleeson just really hates Tom Cruise and is like, you know what? Yeah, fuck it, let's do it. You're going to go out there. And Tom was like, I'm not in a combat position for a reason. Like, what? So, yeah, he gets sent out there and they rewrite his identity and make him to be like not actually an officer of the military. So Gleason's kind of, I guess you could say, the bad guy, the villain of the film. Although there's also an alien race seeking to destroy humanity, so, he kind of ends up not looking like the bad guy, even though the decisions that he makes are inherently douchey. And Cruise is sent out, and he's given the squad that has been told that they're the first squad that's dropping, which is really never the good thing in any war. You don't want to be the first ones out ever. It's unless you have terminal cancer. It's not an ideal situation. So he gets thrown into that, and of course, nobody really even bothers explaining much to him because which is kind of like, maybe, at least have some faith that they might kill a couple things while they're down there. They don't even really train him in his suit. He just drops. And so he has to learn how to use the suit. And he dies. But before he dies, he does kill what's known as an alpha. That alpha gets blood into him. And when that blood gets into him, he gains the ability to reset the day when he dies. So, every time he dies, the day resets and goes back to a certain place in his day. And he has to keep trying to figure out, obviously, what the aliens have been using against them, which is anytime an alpha dies on the battlefield, the Omega, which is the main alien. This is sort of like Independence Day, where there's looks like you've got the biggest alien, but there's an even bigger alien floating up there in space, and we have to send Jeff Goldblum and Will Smith up there to give them a virus. It's kind of like that. Anyway, these movies are fun. What are you talking about? So he figures it out, and he tries to get Emily Blunt, who he saw fighting out on the battlefield, who's supposed to be the, I don't know, something of Verdun, Angel of Verdun or something. And she's just badass. She gets her own, training room. She just trains by herself. And, yeah, so she used to have the power, now she doesn't. And when she finds out Tom Cruise does, she works with him, although he constantly has to keep introducing himself to everybody, which is hilarious. And the film just has a lot of Tom Cruise dying. I think something we don't see in most of his films. He usually survives, but this one really capitalizes on the fact that Cruise has to die many, many times before we can get this right. Until the final battle sequence when he has to finally fight the Omega, just like Will Smith and Jeff Goldblum had to finally deliver the virus in Independence Day. I think the film's entertaining. I love the film. I think it's way better. It's just a film it wasn't even on my radar back when it came out in like 2015, 2014, 2015, something like that. And yeah, it was something where I was like, Edge of Tomorrow. I think because the title was so terrible that I just didn't care. It's not that the previews looked bad. Then the director too, Doug Liman, is somebody who you're just like, all right. I mean, it's been worse. There could be worse, you know. There are definitely worse directors, but it's not. There are better ones too. Is the point? So, he didn't really change the game. So it's just like Tom Cruise, Emily Blunt in this movie that nobody really seems super excited about, and has a terrible title. So, whoa, oh shit, it's good. Okay, all right. So I'm gonna watch this a bunch of times. So I've seen it a couple times, not nearly as much as some of the other titles that I've had in my 40 for 40 so far that have been around for many more years. But considering how long this has been around, this is probably my fourth or fifth viewing of it. And it doesn't get old. It hasn't aged. It hasn't. It's not over 2 hours. It's a breezy time. It's both funny, entertaining. It's action packed. As far as being a movie that works for me as a blind person, that's up in the air. That's up in the air. That's debatable. There's a science fiction element to this film that I wouldn't say the audio description is fantastic at describing. The aliens and what they look like. You get kind of like really cursory brief nods about, you know, maybe like some tentacles and stuff like that. It's just like, but I don't think you could draw it. I don't think, based on the audio description, that somebody could actually draw out what they thought these things looked like. Also, the suits that they're wearing are not really well described. I noticed that when he gets introduced to J-Team, you kind of get introduced to everybody in the room, but they kind of all have a unique look from what I remember. I think one of them is described later on as having spiky hair. So that's where that goes. It's kind of like a bare minimum audio description. I mean, it tells you what you need to know in order to be able to follow the film, but it's not going to engross you and just pull you into the film. This is not a high level audio description that I really loved. It also, I don't think it was mixed perfectly. I feel like I had to turn my TV way the hell up to get to hear the audio description at a level. I felt like my movie was pretty loud so that I could hear the audio description. But maybe that's just me. Maybe, I mean, a lot of people run sound bars and everybody has a different TV, so it's really hard to gauge those kind of things. It wasn't like just 2 40 for 40s ago. Yesterday, the last 40 for 40 was Shaun of the Dead. And that I could tell, it wouldn't matter which TV I was watching it on. I could have been watching that on a film screen. Like, I could have been watching that on IMAX. And with that audio description track, it would have been terrible. Because it was obviously not, it was the opposite of balanced. It didn't care at all about the film's soundtrack. And it just cut it out. Every time it needed to describe something, it made the film almost inaudible. This does kind of the opposite, where the film soundtrack is actually really important and the audio description track is maybe less so. So you have to kind of turn it up to make sure that this one does not want to encroach on the movie. I mean, it still talks, but it doesn't, it's not really worried about this is an action sequence that's really loud. Did we balance this correctly? It's like, I don't want to take away from the movie. The movie's brilliant. And it's like, yeah, the movie is brilliant. I don't know. But then again, what you're missing is just a kind of basic sort of like description of the bare minimum of what's happening. Like, he ducks, moves out of the way, shoots, kills. It's not really, it doesn't really engross you and bring you in on the film. So I love it because I've seen it, but I don't know where I would be if I was watching this for the first time with just this audio description. Because I don't think it did a great job at giving me what these aliens look like. And yet there are different kinds. There's the mimics, there's the alphas, and there's the omegas. So, well, the omega, anyway. So it doesn't really, I don't think it did a great job at that. But there you go. That is my Edge of Tomorrow thought process. I love this film. It is worth putting in my favorite films of all time. Even though it's a little bit new. It's about as new as I felt comfortable going. I did sit there and I had like a 5-minute thought process with myself. I was like, has it been enough time? Have I seen this film enough? And I was like, I think I've seen this film enough over the years too. I think I saw this twice in theaters. So, which is rare for me. I don't usually go back. But I think I felt like I needed to go back to theaters to watch Edge of Tomorrow again. Lots of indicators there that told me. I also, at some point on IMDb, gave it a 10 out of 10. I don't remember what my original critic grade is because I don't like going back because I don't like being influenced because my opinion can change on a film with repeat viewings. So I don't want to feel like I have to like or hate something because I liked or hated something before. Yeah. So, live in the moment. do with what you can. Enjoy the film as it's presented to you. Like I love this, and I hope you do too. It's on HBO Max, and that's it. I'm gonna give Edge of Tomorrow my usual A+ because it's achieved legendary status by being in 40 for 40. It's one of my favorite films. So it's also the first Tom Cruise film I put in here, which I really thought was going to end up being a Mission Impossible film, but I kind of want to watch all the Mission Impossible films because of Dead Reckoning coming out, and probably do, like, at some point this year, all of them. So I kind of dodged that. Not that there wouldn't be some Mission Impossible films totally eligible for 40 for 40, because there are. It's a fantastic series. But with Edge of Tomorrow, I felt pretty comfortable. I was like, I don't know that sequels is going to happen. And what would it be called? They've made it so confusing. Is it going to be Live, Die, Repeat 2? Or is it going to be Edge of Tomorrow 2? Or just something else? Some new title that's equally shitty? Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I do have a website, MacTheMovieGuy.com, which you can go to. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at MacTheMovieGuy. You can go to the audio description project, adp.acb.org. It'll let you know what has audio description and where you can watch it. And you can go to the ADNA.org. That's the ADNA.org. It'll let you know who's narrating your favorite films and television series. That's it for me today. I will review something else for you guys and see you on the other side. I think I have to reset the day and review this film again. So